Steven Seagal's story doesn't begin with fame, action scenes, or Hollywood lights. It begins quietly, in a modest home in Lansing, Michigan, with a boy who felt smaller than the world around him, but strangely certain he was meant for something bigger. As a child, Steven was shy, soft-spoken, and often sick. His asthma kept him indoors, and the neighborhood kids sometimes pushed him around because he never fought back. But inside him was a spark, a feeling that strength didn't have to be loud to be real. When he was a teenager, that spark caught fire. He discovered martial arts not as a way to dominate others, but as a discipline that taught him presence, humility, and control. While many kids his age were focused on fitting in, Steven spent his hours sweeping dojo floors in exchange for lessons. He wasn't naturally gifted at first. His movements were stiff, his breathing shallow, his balance weak, but he refused to quit. His quiet persistence became his identity. By his early 20s, Steven left the United States and moved to Japan, something almost unheard of at the time for a young American martial artist. He immersed himself completely into the culture. He bowed, he listened, he repeated the same motions thousands of times, slowly transforming himself from a struggling beginner into a serious practitioner. Years passed, and the foreign boy who barely spoke the language became the first Westerner to run his own Aikido dojo in Japan. Not because he was loud, not because he demanded attention, but because he earned respect through dedication. That discipline shaped his life in ways he could never have predicted. When Steven eventually returned to the United States, he didn't plan to become an actor. Hollywood was a distant world, one he had never imagined himself in. But life has a way of opening doors for people who are deeply aligned with their purpose. He began teaching Aikido in Los Angeles, and among his students were screenwriters, producers, and creatives who had never seen anyone move the way he moved. Calm, precise, almost effortless. They insisted that this style, this energy, needed to be on screen. Steven wasn't an overnight success, and he didn't seek attention, but his talent pushed him into the spotlight. His first film, Above the Law, wasn't supposed to become a phenomenon, yet it did. Audiences connected to something different about him. He wasn't the typical Hollywood hero. He didn't shout, he didn't pose, he didn't pretend. His fights looked real because they were real, rooted in decades of disciplined training. His voice was low, measured. His presence was steady. In a world full of noise, he was quiet strength embodied. And still, Steven's life wasn't defined only by films. Off-screen, he threw himself into humanitarian work, supporting environmental causes, advocating for the powerless, and helping communities devastated by disaster. He traveled the world, guided not by fame, but by the same principle that shaped his youth. Strength is a tool to protect, not to overpower. His journey wasn't without setbacks. Fame brings pressure, misunderstandings, and controversy, but the heart of his story, the part that matters, is about a boy who once struggled to breathe and grew into a man who learned how to stand firmly without raising his voice. His life reminds us that transformation doesn't require noise. It requires persistence. It requires humility. And it requires the courage to keep going long before the world notices. Steven Seagal's rise isn't the tale of a flashy star chasing attention. It's the story of someone who followed a path of discipline until that path led somewhere extraordinary. It proves that what shapes a person isn't the size of their beginning, but the consistency of their steps. And sometimes the people who speak the least leave the deepest mark. Because every life is a thread, and every thread has a story.